All right, today we're tackling a big one, the Constitution of India. And let me tell you, this isn't just some dry legal document. It's the very soul of the world's largest democracy, and it's absolutely fascinating. So, let's jump right in. Okay, first things first, you gotta know this one incredible fact. The Indian Constitution is, by a long shot, the longest written constitution in the entire world. I mean, we're talking about a document that is so detailed, so comprehensive, it makes most others look like a short pamphlet. And that naturally makes you wonder, right? Why? Why make it so incredibly long? Why spell everything out when so many other countries have gotten by with something much, much shorter? Well, here's the key. It was never meant to be just a simple rule book. Think of it more like a grand blueprint, a blueprint for a monumental balancing act. It's all about managing a country with incredible diversity, with all sorts of competing ideas and needs. And this idea, this great balancing act, that's really the secret to understanding the whole thing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through the major balancing acts that are at the very core of India's constitution. Okay, first up, the big one. How do you balance power between the central government and all the individual states? This is a classic problem, right? You want to give states their own power, but you don't want to make the country weak. It's a real tightrope walk. Now, there's a term for India's solution, quasi-federal. Sounds a bit academic, I know, but the idea is pretty simple. It means the system is federal in how it's structured, kind of like the US with its states, but it's unitary in spirit, meaning it's got a really strong central government at its heart. And you can see that mix right here. On one side, you've got the classic federal stuff. Powers divided up, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. But then look at the other side. You've got a super strong central government, just one single citizenship for everyone, and these powerful emergency provisions that give the center a ton of control when needed. It's a very clever, intentional hybrid. All right, on to the second balancing act, and this one's all about time. How do you make a constitution that's solid enough to be a stable anchor for the country, but also flexible enough to change with the times? It's that age-old tension between stability and progress. To really get India's answer, just look at the two extremes out there. You have the US Constitution, which is famously rigid. I mean, it is really hard to amend. Then you've got the UK, which is super flexible. They can basically change their constitution just by passing a regular law. So what did India do? It didn't pick a side. It created a blend. Some parts of the Constitution are pretty easy to change with a simple majority vote. But the really core stuff, the foundational principles, yeah, those require a much tougher, special process to amend. It's designed to be a rock and a river at the same time, sturdy but able to flow. So, for our third balancing act, we're going right to the top. Who gets the final word? Is it the elected politicians in Parliament, or is it the judges in the Supreme Court? Who's really in charge? And again, you see two very different models in the world. In the UK system, Parliament is supreme. What it says goes. But in the US, you have judicial supremacy. The Supreme Court there has the ultimate power to look at a law and say, nope, that's unconstitutional. And you guessed it, India carved its own path. The Supreme Court absolutely has the power to review laws and strike them down. But, and this is a big but, Parliament has the power to amend the Constitution itself. It creates this amazing tension, a system of checks and balances where neither one gets to be the absolute boss. This brings us to our last big balancing act, and this one is maybe the most important for you and me. It's the balance between the individual citizen and the power of the state. The Constitution handles this with a really elegant three-part system. First step, you have your shield. These are the fundamental rights. Think of them as your non-negotiable freedoms. Freedom of speech, the right to equality. They are guaranteed to you, and this is the most important part, you can go to court to enforce them. They are there to protect you. Then you have the state's compass, the directive principles. These are like a to-do list for the government. They're the big social and economic goals the country should always be striving for, things like fair wages or protecting the environment. Now, you can't sue the government for not achieving them, but they are the moral compass that's supposed to guide every law and policy. And finally, there's your part of the deal. The fundamental duties. These were actually added a bit later, and they serve as a reminder that with great rights come great responsibilities. It's about our duty as citizens to, say, promote harmony and protect the country. So you see how it all fits together? Your rights are your shield, protecting your freedom. The directives are the nation's compass, pointing towards a better society. And the duties are your pledge, your civic obligation, It's a beautiful, balanced picture of what it means to be a citizen. And when you get these fundamental balancing acts right, it allows all these other incredible features to flourish. Things like being a secular state, having a government that works at the national, state, and local levels, and of course, universal adult franchise, the simple but profound idea that every single adult gets a vote. You know, if you had to boil down the absolute genius of this whole structure, you just have to go back to that phrase we started with. It's federal in its form, but it is absolutely unitary in its spirit. That says it all. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. As the world keeps changing faster and faster with new technologies, climate change, you name it, which of these delicate balancing acts do you think is going to be the most critical for India's future? The one between the center and the states? Between being stable and being flexible? Between the courts and the politicians? Or the one between us, the citizens, and the society we live in? Something to chew on.